Hey guys, this is Steve with TronicsFix. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace the screen on the Nintendo Switch. Now, as most of you know, the screen on the front of the Nintendo Switch, it's actually the Digitizer. It's made of plastic, which is great for breakability. They don't break as much as, say, a glass screen, but it's also worse for scratching. The plastic scratches much easier than a glass screen would. So the first thing I have to say is I do highly recommend getting a glass screen protector. I will link one in the description below if you're interested in that I use on my Nintendo Switches, and that just helps it protect from getting the scratches on it. As most of you have probably heard, when you slide your Switch into the dock, sometimes that can cause scratches on the plastic Digitizer screen. So that's one of the main reasons you want to make sure to have a screen protector on. Also, this is obviously a portable console, so they're going to be thrown in backpacks, in bags, in other places, and so it just makes it easier just to have a nice glass screen to help give that screen some protection from being scratched. Now, if your screen does get scratched, I'm going to show you how to replace it today, and I'll link up the parts in the description below. As of the published time of this video, they're not available, but as soon as they are available, I'll link some up so you can have a place to get them from. Now, I'll be using various parts and tools today, and I will link those up in the description below for any of you who might not have them. Now I'm going to fast forward through the disassembly of this console. If you need to see closer up or if you need to see it slower, feel free to check out my disassembly teardown video for the Nintendo Switch. I will also link that in the description so you can use that if you need to see some up close and slower video of the teardown process. Now, with all of that being said, let's get down to the teardown and repair. Now we do want to remove these rails because when we flip this over, we don't want these rails to be flopping around because that's possibly going to tear these ribbon cables. So we're going to remove this rail, and this rail is actually harder to get to. So what I'm going to do is actually just put one screw back in this rail to keep it from flopping around when I flip it over to remove the screen. So what I'm actually going to try and do is I'm going to try and see, theoretically this should be able to come out without removing the motherboard now that I have a look at it. I've got this cable detached and this cable detached, and those should be the only two that hold the screen in place. So let's flip it over and see if we can get this screen out. Now there are several ways that we can get this Digitizer out of the Nintendo Switch. The first way would be what I normally would do, and that is use my hot air gun just to heat up the edges to get the adhesive loose, and then I would go ahead and remove it that way. But since I know most of you probably don't have a hot air gun, I'm going to show you how to do it using an iFixit eye opener. This is available on iFixit's website, and as I said, I will link that in the description below. So we're going to go ahead and throw this in the microwave, get the screen warm, and see if we can get the screen removed. So we just microwaved our eye opener for 60 seconds in our microwave. So what we're going to do is lay this on here and let it just sit there and soften the adhesive on the screen, and then we'll use some pry tools to pry the screen out of the Nintendo Switch console. Now another thing to keep in mind is the ribbon cable for the Digitizer is right here on this edge. So what we need to do is pry the Digitizer up from here up this way So we need to make sure that this is where we pivot the digitizer from as we pull the screen out. Now that we've gotten the screen nice and warmed up using our eye opener, we've put it in the microwave several times to make sure all the edges are nice and warm. It's time now to get the screen pried up. I'm going to be using some pry tools to pry the digitizer off of the frame. So we just want to get in the edge, slide another pry tool here. Now as you're going, you don't want to push any pry tools up under the screen too far or you could damage the LCD. So we're going to be careful of that. We're just going to go ahead and loosen it along here. Now I'm not going to go all the way to the edge because we do have that digitizer ribbon cable right along here. The adhesive along this edge is a little bit more stiff because it is a little bit wider here. And it feels like it's still pretty stiff. So what I'm going to do is heat up the eye opener again and lay it along this edge for a little bit longer, and then I'll keep getting this side of the screen loose. Now I'm going to lay it on there for a little bit of time, maybe up to 30 seconds, and then I'm also going to lay it on this edge to make sure that we keep this edge warm, and then I'll also lay it along this back edge as well, just to make sure all the adhesive stays warm enough that it's easier to remove. As you can see, it is much easier to pry up on this with that adhesive loose and warm. So just keep that in mind if you ever have any trouble getting the adhesive off, that you got to make sure that it stays warm, and the warmer it is, the easier it's going to be. Up to a point, obviously you don't want to get it so warm that it's melting your screen. Now I'm going to put some picks in here just in case this screen pushes back down. This will prevent it from sticking back to the adhesive. Yeah, with that warm, it just slides right through nice and easy. Now I'm going to go back to this tool. This tool is nice because it's got edges right here, so you can only slip it in so far. These are also available on Amazon, and I will link those in the description below. Okay, and you probably heard that pop. That means we got everything fairly loose. I'm going to rotate it around and slowly get a little bit of the bottom loose, and then I'm going to flip it up. As you can see, we just got a little bit of adhesive down here, and then the ribbon cable is right there on the corner. So we're going to flip this over and make sure it's loose, ready to go through. And it seems like it is, but we're going to go very, very careful here just to make sure we don't tear that ribbon cable. If that ribbon cable gets torn, then the screen is no good. So if you're replacing just the digitizer, it doesn't really matter with the cable, but if you're trying to save this screen and replace the LCD, then you do want to make sure that you're very careful with this ribbon cable. Also, I'm going to lay this face down, and hopefully that will make it not get too dusty. I'm actually going to lay it on something like this so it's over it, but it doesn't stick down to like the table or something like that. And there we have the digitizer removed from the Nintendo Switch console. Now, depending on what your new part looks like, you may have to put a new adhesive on the new part. You may have to clean all this old adhesive off of the frame. It just depends on what kind of part you receive and what all is there. Most parts, I would think, should come with new adhesive, so you're probably going to be wanting to clean this adhesive off of the frame, so then the new adhesive will stick well. Now that the Digitizer has been removed, we need to remove the LCD screen from the Nintendo Switch. I did loosen this cable on the back of the motherboard, but I forgot there is this small cable down here that I need to get out of its connector as well. So I will do that next. So we'll flip up the lock and then just pull it down. Now the nice thing about this LCD is it's very loose in here. You can even see it's even coming out of the frame right there. So what I'm going to do is just grab a little pry tool and just pry it up very gently. And there we have it. There's the LCD. Now you got to be careful with this ribbon cable. As you can see, there's a curve in the ribbon cable. If you just try and jerk this up, you're going to be in trouble. It's going to break. So we need to pull down like this. And then I'm also going to go on the back side and push it through as well. And then we just pull it out the back like that. One thing you have to be careful of is you want to make sure not to get any fingerprints on the LCD. This is the LCD. You can see how thin it is. That's the LCD for the Nintendo Switch. So it is very thin, very fragile, so you need to be very careful with your Nintendo Switch console when you're using it, not to just slam it around and stuff like that, or this obviously very easily could break. Now, if you're replacing your LCD, you will have a panel that looks a lot like this, and one of the main things that you have to be careful of is the ribbon cables and fingerprints and bending. So we got to be super careful with this part, and the first thing we're going to do is flip it like this and put the ribbon cable up through this hole in the case of the console. Once we get that up there, we'll also want to put this small ribbon cable down through this other hole. And then we're just going to lay the LCD down in here, and then I'm going to flip it over and make sure those ribbon cables came through how they should have. Now we need to align the LCD and make sure it's flat in its case. This one seems to have a little bit of play, so we're going to make sure these ribbon cables are pulled all the way through. And it seems like they are now. Now that the LCD is installed, we're going to take a can of canned air and we're going to blow off all the dust, and then we'll install the Digitizer. So I'm just going to take some canned air, gently spray off the dust. And now we have our clean LCD. We're going to take our Digitizer, whether it's the new one or if you just replaced the LCD, we're going to clean off the back of the Digitizer with canned air, very carefully. Then we're going to line up our ribbon cable, put the ribbon cable down inside, and then we'll line up the Digitizer with the case, and then we will slowly and carefully fit it in, and it'll snap in place like that. And now we have replaced our LCD and Digitizer. We're going to need to flip it over. Now we're going to need to reinstall all the things we took out to get to the screen. And now the moment of truth, does it turn on? Of course it turns on. I can't believe you guys are questioning me. Thanks for watching my screen replacement guide for the Nintendo Switch console. Always keep in mind, if this is something you feel you can't do, or if you don't have the tools or anything like that, please don't even try it. Just send it off to either Nintendo Get It Fixed, or you can always send it to us here at TronicsFix for repair. But just please be realistic with your abilities and don't try anything that you are not comfortable with. If you guys have any questions or any comments, please just leave them in the comment section below and I will get to them when I can. I appreciate you guys watching me and following my channel. Please subscribe if you like this video and want to see more, and I hope you guys have a great day.